Life of a Coroner's Assistant. Welcome to a collection of extraordinary stories, each gripping, each vividly real. The events you're about to encounter aren't fabrications or flights of fancy. They are drawn directly from my personal experiences working as a coroner's assistant. Every detail, from the hushed corridors of hospitals to the silent chill of morgue rooms, unfolded exactly as described. You'll journey with me through stark realities and unexpected moments of humanity found within this hidden world. Brace yourself. What follows is a deeply engaging, thoroughly authentic glimpse into life, death, and everything that connects them. Call number 1, day 1, body 1 transfer. 10/9/18, 7 a.m., Trenton Hospital. Driver picked me up at my home and we drive straight to the hospital in Trenton, where a body was ready to be picked up and brought to the medical examiner's facility. We arrive and back up to the back door, where they keep the bodies in a small refrigerator waiting for transport. We get out of the van and knock on the door. After a few moments, security opens the door and introduce ourselves. The driver grabs the gurney from the van and brings it into the hospital refrigerator room. The security guard then pulls the already wrapped body from the refrigerator, and the driver and I proceed to transfer the body from the hospital cart to our gurney. The driver explains that this particular case has a vial of blood that we need to get from the lab. The security guard leads us to where the lab is, for us to sign a form to retrieve the blood sample, which can then be brought to the medical examiner's office with the body. We proceed back to the security guard's office and sign one last form for them to release the body to us. As we are waiting for them to finish the paperwork to release the body, we try to read through the initial paperwork to see cause of death, and it as an overdose on a young black woman. We bring the body outside and roll the gurney into the van and head back to the medical examiner's office. Once at the medical examiner's office, we unload the body, weigh the body on the scale for the paperwork, and then roll the body onto the medical examiner's cart, and then bring it into the refrigerator. Call done. Call number 2, day 2, body 2, decomposed body. 10/9/18 to 2 p.m., Princeton apartment driver meets me at a mall nearby. I get in the van with him and we head to Princeton for a call. We are told that it is a decomposed body, decom, and it has been sitting there for roughly a week. Driver tells me that we are in for a doozy. I advised him that I am mentally ready to deal with whatever it is at the crime scene. We arrive and there are 2 police vehicles outside and one officer standing outside on the sidewalk going into the 2-story apartment building. We prep with putting on 2 sets of gloves, booties for our shoes, and I requested a bodysuit just in case anything gets splatted onto us and to help keep my clothes clean. After I was suited up, we go into the apartment, which is 5 steps from the sidewalk going toward the house, and then down a small hallway into the apartment. The first thing that struck me was the smell. It smelled so rotten that it is hard for me to put into words. Once you smell something like that, you never forget it. The driver explained that he is so used to it that it doesn't bother him anymore. Walking into the scene, there are 2 women police officers taking photos of the scene, the room, and especially a lot of pictures of the body itself. The apartment was very small. If you could picture walking into a room where you start in the small living room, and to the left is a set of 4 stairs leading to a doorway with no door that goes into the bedroom. And to the right around the little bend is the kitchen. The deceased body was laying in the doorway where the door would have been, and his feet laying down across the stairs. His pants were below his belt area and above his knees. The police are not allowed to touch the body until the coroner gets there. All I see is a body that looks very dark-skinned, but this man was a 37-year-old white male. His entire body was swollen, and all the gases and fluids went to his testicles, which made them look so enlarged and felt as if it could burst at any time. His entire body was almost black from being decomposed for so long. As mentioned before, the smell just kept getting worse, even with the windows of the apartment open, along with a fan blowing cold air toward the body. The police officer taking photos asked if we can lean the body on its side so they could take picture of his back. This seems to be a normal routine on every job, so ensure they have all the photographic evidence they need for their case. The driver goes up on toward the top of the body, on top of the stairs, and asked if I would grab his right leg to help turn him over so the police officer could take the photos she needs. At the same time, we placed a sheet underneath the body so we can help move it down the short set of stairs onto the stretcher. While turning the body, you are constantly reminded of the bad smell, and not to mention the flies around the body. After turning the body on its side, I also saw maggots underneath near his armpit. We now laid the body onto his back and wrapped the sheet around him. Next, slowly dragged the body onto our stretcher, where we had the thick black body bag. We slowly wrapped the body inside of the body bag and zipped it up. Next, we used belts attached to the stretcher around the body tightly, and then proceed to drag the body out to our gurney. I am holding his feet, and the driver is on his lifting by the body's head. We make it through the small hallway and out the front door, and down 5 standard steps, and then onto the gurney. We then tie the body down using belts that are attached to the gurney, and roll the body into the van. Job well done. This was definitely my first real call that was difficult to handle, but I was able to do the job and finish without any issues. I was also told that it is common to see decomposed bodies more in the summertime because of how hot it gets. After we load the body into the van, I rip apart my little bodysuit, which prevented fluids getting onto my clothes, removed my booties, and then both set of gloves, which all go into another bag and then later thrown out at the medical examiner's facility. After leaving the scene, I could still smell the body as the smell seeped through the bag. We had all the windows open along with the air blasting in our face to help with the smell. I was told by the driver and even a few of the police officers that if I could handle this call, I could handle almost anything, as this was a pretty bad case they've even seen in a long time. Once at the medical examiner's office, we unload the body, weigh the body on the scale for the paperwork, and then roll the body onto the medical examiner's cart, and then bring it into the refrigerator. Call done. Call number 3, day body 1 overdose. 10:10:18 to 9 p.m. Woodbridge Trailer Park. I get picked up by the driver, and we head to a nearby trailer home about 25 minutes where I live. We arrive and there standing outside are 2 uniformed police officers. We open up the back of the van and start to get everything together. We leave the gurney outside at the bottom of the stairs of the trailer home. We bring a sheet and body bag along with the stretcher and proceed inside, and find there are 4 more police officers and the head medical examiners in the town. The 30-year-old male from Russian Decent was laying down on his back on the floor, the kitchen. The trailer home was not messy or anything, pretty clean for what it was, and there was half a waffle uneaten on the table along with other paraphernalia. There was no smell. The body had all his clothing on, such as shirt, pants, and sneakers. He was blue in the face and a little bit swollen all around. He also had a nosebleed, which was slowly oozing out of his nose as well. We placed the stretcher to the side and lay down the body bag on top of it. We need to place the body on his side so the police can take pictures of the man's back for his investigation. After he said he is all done with his pictures, we lay the body on his back and then we lift him onto the stretcher where the body bag is. Next, we slowly put the body into the bag and began to zip it up. There was a request by the mother to see his face one last time before we take him away. The driver places the blanket over the body and puts a pillow under his head, The police bring the mother inside, and she hysterically cried as she saw her son laying there dead. She couldn't take it anymore, and after 30 seconds or so, she left the scene, and we closed the body bag and placed the sheet over the body and proceeded to lift and bring him out to the van. The driver thought it would be easier to drop me off before him, dropping the body back to the medical examiner's facility. Call done. Call number 4, day 4, body 1, airport transfer, 10/12/18, 6 a.m., Newark Airport. I head to the funeral home and meet with the driver. We head to Newark Airport for a body transfer that was flown in. We proceed to look for the cargo pickup for Delta Airlines. We arrive and speak to the worker who has some paperwork we need to sign for them to release the cargo. The driver backups the van to their garage door, and then one of the workers at the airport jump into a forklift and bring over a cardboard box. The body we are picking up is in. The worker gets close, and before we load the box with the body inside into the van, I notice that name on the box is not the same person we are picking up. I advise the driver and tells the worker that he brought over the incorrect body. The worker proceeds to the back of the warehouse, where he comes back with another box with the correct body. With the rear of the van door open, he loads the box into the van, and the driver and I push the box into the van and shut the door. The driver signs again to release the body to us, and we proceed to the funeral home it is getting delivered to. We arrive to the funeral home, and the driver opens up the door to where we need to bring the body into. They have rolling carts, which they use to bring the bodies in from outside, and we load the box onto this rolling cart and bring it inside. The funeral home room we brought the body into was set up for a viewing, and with further curiosity, there was an older woman already in a coffin ready for the wake. We left the body in the next room and then left. Call done. Call number 5, day 4, body 2, decomposed body, 10/12/18 to 2 p.m. Shrewsbury. I meet the driver and park my car. I jump in the van and head to the scene. Once we arrive at the scene, it seems to be a standard apartment complex. We drive up until we find the police vehicles on the scene, and then the police officer waiting outside of where we need to go. We first go into the apartment to see what we are up against before we bring in the gurney and stretcher up to the scene. We meet with the first officer, who walked us up to the apartment, which was on the 2nd floor. You can tell this is an old apartment complex because the stairway was narrow, enough for one person to walk up or down on. We walk upstairs, and to the right was the apartment. First, I noticed that the door was broken in because the molding around the door was broken, as if someone smashed it to get inside. Next, you can tell that the person living here was a hoarder, because it was so tightly packed with so much stuff, it was hard to walk through the apartment. There were piles of clothes laying down on furniture and hanging up on anything they could think of. All the furniture was tightly packed inside the apartment as well. Before arriving, the officer was able to move some things out of the way, so there is room for us to move the body out from where it was. We proceed through the living room and down a narrow hallway, which leads to a single bedroom. That is where the body lied, right on the bed, face up on her back. The investigating officer advised that she must have been laying there for 2 days before someone called the police. When walking into the scene, I knew right away that it was a decomposed, because once you smell that, you can never forget it. The smell was not as bad as my first decomposed body, and that makes sense as this body was only sitting for 2 days, and the other one was about a week. The body was a woman with a shirt on and in her underwear. She looked like a white woman, maybe in her 50s. Her skin was already miscolored, turning black, and her face was completely disformed, and it seemed like her eyes were popping out of her head a little bit. She was laid across the bed diagonally. We go back downstairs after knowing what we are up against, and bring up a standard body bag along with a heavier body bag and head back upstairs. We were able to lay down our stretcher onto the bed next to her. Next, we laid down the heavy body bag and then the thinner standard body bag on top. The investigating officer first has to take photos of her face more as it was buried under a pillow when first arriving to the scene. The driver grabs the hands of the body and lifts her up and moves her over onto the stretcher, as I helped by her feet and did the same. Once we had the body onto our stretcher on the bags, the officer was able to take better photos of what she needed for this investigation. After she took her final pictures of the body, she put her camera down and then removed the 5 bracelets that were on the body's wrist. The driver and I stood waiting for the officer to finish removing the jewelry, and then we zipped up the bags and strapped the body to our stretcher. I had the body's feet and the driver was by the head. We both lifted the body and slowly moved the body out of the bedroom, through the hallway and the apartment, and then down the stairs to where our gurney we left outside. We lay the body onto the gurney and strap the body down again using 2 belt buckles. We lift the gurney up and lock the wheels into place and proceed to bring the body to the van. Finally, we open the van door, load the body and secure the gurney in the van and shut the door. Next, we head to the medical examiner's office, where we unload the body from the van and finish by weighing the body on the scale for the paperwork, and then roll the body onto the medical examiner's cart and then bring it into the refrigerator. Call done. Call number 6, day 5. Body 1, nursing home 10:13:87 a.m. Monroe. I was picked up by the driver for a nursing home call. There was a woman who passed away in her sleep the night prior. We arrive at the home at approximately 7:30 a.m. We drive right to the front doors and bring the gurney with us to transport the body. We walk inside and there we are greeted by the janitor. He advised us that the deceased was on the 1st floor. We find our way to the larger elevators, and the main floor of this facility is considered the 3rd floor, so we proceed in the elevator to the 1st floor, where the residents of this home have their rooms. As we are walking through the dining area, we end up at the rec room, where everyone hangs out, plays board games, and watch TV. There were about 8 to 10 people in wheelchairs just sitting in the rec room, not saying anything. And the only thought in my head was that these people are just living waiting to die. They literally were not doing anything. We walk down a hallway and find the name of the deceased on their door, and as we walk in, she was lying on her bed on her back faced up. Her eyes were shut and mouth open. To me, this seemed more eerie because walking in, I am used to calls where there are police with cameras taking pictures of the scene. In this case, it seemed more surreal because it was just a woman who passed in her sleep. We proceed to set up the gurney to the height of the bed. Next, the driver wrapped the body in the sheets of her bed. We slowly transferred her from her bed onto our gurney. After belting the body onto the gurney, we covered her with a blanket. It was odd how we had to transport the body covered through the nursing home, around other elderly just sitting there watching us. Nobody said anything, and nobody made a scene. But I found it odd how the staff didn't prep the situation and move the people away while we did what we had to do. As we walked through the hallway, past the other elderly people, though the rec room back to the elevator, we bring the body upstairs and out to the van. We load the body and drive away to the funeral home, which was in Milltown. Call done.